Secretariat, also known as Big Red, horse of the century. Imagine a force of nature, sculpted from muscle and fire, rewriting the very definition of speed. Imagine a moment so perfect, so utterly dominant, it etches itself into eternity. This isn't myth. This isn't legend. This was real. This was 1973. This was Secretariat, the horse that flew. He was a titan cloaked in chestnut, a blaze of red against the green turf, known as Big Red, forged by a fateful coin toss, championed by a woman who defied convention, and unleashed by a rider who became one with his thunderous heart. He didn't just win the Triple Crown, he incinerated it, leaving records that smolder to this day. The Kentucky Derby, a record. The Preakness, a record. And then Belmont, a chasm of 31 lengths, an abyss of brilliance. The world could only stare, breathless. Our saga ignites not with the roar of the crowd, but with the quiet click of a tossed coin. It's 1969. Two titans of Virginia's thoroughbred aristocracy, Ogden Phipps of Wheatley Stable and Christopher Chenery of Meadow Stable, enact a breeding pact. A gentleman's agreement, sealed by chance. Phipps wins the toss, claiming the foal of hasty Matilda. This leaves Penny Chenery, Christopher's daughter, now at the helm of the financially strained Meadow Stable as her father's health failed, with the unborn foal of the mare Something Royal, sired by the legendary, yet sometimes controversial, Bold Ruler. Bold Ruler's progeny were known for blistering speed, but often questioned for their stamina over classic distances. A gamble, indeed. On March 30th, 1970, under the Virginia sun at Meadow Stud, destiny drew its first breath. A magnificent chestnut colt, built like a god, with 3 immaculate white stockings and a distinctive star tapering to a narrow stripe. He was almost unnervingly perfect, exuding an aura of serene power even as a foal. Penny Chenery, a woman of sharp intellect and quiet resolve, named him Secretariat. He wasn't just a horse, he was a beacon of hope for a family, for a struggling stable. He moved with an inherent grace, a preternatural awareness in his intelligent eyes. To sculpt this raw, untamed potential fell to Lucien Laurin, a shrewd, experienced, if famously superstitious, French-Canadian trainer, and in the irons, the unflappable Canadian jockey Ron Turcotte, a man whose quiet confidence perfectly mirrored the colt's own. Secretariat's early lessons were not always a symphony of perfection. He was a colossal creature still learning to harness his immense frame. Yet even then, flashes of otherworldly brilliance would erupt, momentary glimpses of the inferno within. His 2-year-old campaign in 1972 wasn't just a debut. It was a declaration of war on mediocrity. He didn't just run, he soared. 7 victories in 9 starts, each more commanding than the last. The Sanford Stakes, the hopeful, the futurity, he devoured them. The racing world was electrified. He was crowned Horse of the Year, an almost unheard-of accolade for a juvenile. The whispers grew into a roar. Could this be the one? The horse to shatter the quarter-century Triple Crown curse? The weight of expectation was colossal, pressing down not only on the horse, but on Penny Chenery. Her father had now passed. Meadow Stable teetered on the brink, burdened by crippling estate taxes. Secretariat was no longer just a champion. He was their lifeline, their phoenix. In an audacious masterstroke of financial acumen and sheer faith, before he'd even faced the Triple Crown crucible, Penny syndicated Secretariat. The price? A staggering $6.08 million. 32 shares at $190,000 each. She shrewdly retained 4 shares and, crucially, absolute control over his racing career. It was a high-wire act without a net. Failure in the classics would brand it a desperate, premature sell-off. Success, however, would cement it as legendary foresight. The stakes couldn't have been higher, but the path to immortality is invariably paved with adversity. Just 3 weeks before the Kentucky Derby, the unthinkable happened. In the Wood Memorial Stakes, Secretariat, the unbeatable, finished a distant, bewildering third. The racing world gasped. Panic rippled. Was he merely mortal after all? Had the bold ruler stamina jinx finally surfaced? Or was it, as his team later disclosed, a painful abscess in his mouth that had compromised his performance? His arch-rival, the fleet-footed Sham, trained by the fiery Pancho Martin, had triumphed in the wood. For the first time, a shadow of doubt fell across the gleaming coat of Big Red. May 5th, 1973. Churchill Downs. A sea of humanity. A kaleidoscope of spring colors, all converged for the 99th Kentucky Derby. The most exciting 2 minutes in sports. Sham, his conqueror in the wood, shared favoritism. The air crackled with tension. As the starting gates flew open, Secretariat, true to his sometimes leisurely style, broke from the gate near the rear of the 13-horse field. Turcotte, a portrait of calm amidst the storm, allowed him to settle. Then, as they thundered down the backstretch and into the far turn, something extraordinary began to happen. Secretariat began to run, not just with his legs, but with his soul. He didn't just pass horses. He inhaled them, his enormous stride devouring ground with breathtaking efficiency. But it was the way he did it that defied belief. He ran each successive quarter-mile faster than the one preceding it, 25.5, 24, 23 and 4/5, 23.5, and an astonishing final quarter in 23 seconds flat. This negative splitting at such a high level was unheard of, a testament to an almost alien physiology. Charging down the stretch, he locked horns with the valiant Sham in a heart-stopping duel, then, with an almost imperceptible surge, drew away. He crossed the wire in 1 minute, 59 and 2/5 seconds, a new Kentucky Derby record, a record that stands unassailable to this very day. He hadn't just won, he'd thrown down a gauntlet to history. 2 weeks later, Pimlico Racecourse, Baltimore, the Preakness Stakes, the second duel. The narrative was irresistible. The rematch. Could Sham, on his home turf, exact revenge? Once more, Secretariat broke cleanly, but was unhurried. Then, in a move of audacious genius that left seasoned railbirds gasping, Turcotte, sensing an almost pedestrian early pace, sent Secretariat on an electrifying, catapult-like surge on the first turn. He rocketed from last to first in the span of a few heartbeats, a red blur against the Maryland landscape. It was a breathtaking display of tactical daring and explosive, instant acceleration. He engaged Sham briefly, a fleeting, ferocious battle, before asserting his dominance and drawing clear to win with authority. Controversy, however, momentarily clouded the triumph. The official track teletimer malfunctioned, initially crediting him with a slower time. For nearly 4 decades, debate simmered. But in 2012, cutting-edge forensic analysis of multiple video recordings definitively proved what true horsemen had felt in their bones. Secretariat had blazed the Preakness in 1 minute, 53 seconds flat. Another track record, another record that stands defiant against the erosion of time. 2 crowns, 2 records. Only the Belmont Stakes, the daunting test of the champion, remained. June 9th, 1973. Belmont Park, New York. The weight of a quarter-century without a Triple Crown winner pressed down on the sport. The Belmont, at a lung-searing mile and a half, is the ultimate arbiter of stamina and heart. Only 4 brave souls dared to challenge Secretariat, among them his tenacious rival, Sham, poised for one final, desperate stand. The question echoed through the grandstands. Could even Secretariat maintain his searing speed over this marathon distance? Or would the ghosts of bold rulers' stamina limitations finally materialize? The bell clanged. The gates crashed open. In a scene of pure, unadulterated racing drama, Secretariat and Sham hooked up immediately, eyeball to eyeball, tearing away from the small field. They blazed through the first quarter in 23 3/5, the half-mile in a scorching 46 1/5. Announcer Chick Anderson's voice, filled with disbelief, cried out, "They're going at it as if it were a sprint." They hit the 6-furlong mark in an unheard-of 1 minute 9 4/5 seconds, a suicidal pace for a mile-and-a-half race. Surely they would both collapse. As they powered around the far turn, the brave Sham, pushed beyond his limits, began to yield, his spirit finally broken by the relentless, unforgiving machine beside him. But Secretariat was just hitting his stride. He was entering another dimension. He didn't just pull away, he exploded. He was a rocket ship achieving escape velocity. The gap widened with every colossal, perfectly balanced stride. 1 length, 5, 10, 15, 20. Ron Turcotte, perched atop this equine hurricane, later admitted he felt the horse take control, accelerating on his own. He famously, almost incredulously, glanced back, not once, but twice, into a void. There was nothing there but the rapidly diminishing specks of his rivals. The crowd of 69,000 erupted, not just in cheers, but in a collective gasp of awe, a roar of disbelief giving way to stunned reverence. Cheek Anderson's voice, now trembling with the magnitude of the moment, immortalized the scene. Secretariat is widening now. He is moving like a tremendous machine. He poured down the stretch, a solitary figure against the vast Belmont backdrop, a study in fluid power and unyielding determination. 25 lengths, 30 lengths. He crossed the finish line, an almost inconceivable, mind-bending 31 lengths in front. The teletimer flashed, 2 minutes and 24 seconds flat. Not merely a Belmont Stakes record, but a world record for a mile and a half on a dirt track. A record so far beyond the pale, so utterly dominant, it remains untouched, revered, perhaps forever. It wasn't a horse race. It was a spiritual experience, a moment of pure, unadulterated athletic transcendence. The 25-year Triple Crown drought wasn't just broken. It was annihilated by a horse who seemed to operate under a different set of physical laws. His legend already immortalized, Secretariat would grace the racetrack 6 more times, winning 4, including spectacular victories on the turf in the Manor War Stakes and the Canadian International, silencing any lingering doubts about his versatility. He was truly a horse for all surfaces, all distances. At the end of his 3-year-old season, he was retired, a celebrated national icon. His farewell appearance at Aqueduct was a profoundly emotional event, grown men weeping as he paraded before them one last time. He embarked on a distinguished career at stud at Claiborne Farm, siring numerous champions and champion producers. When Secretariat succumbed to laminitis and was euthanized in the autumn of 1989, the subsequent necropsy uncovered a secret that, in retrospect, explained so much. His heart, the engine of his incredible power, was phenomenally large, estimated by Dr. Thomas Swerchek, the veterinarian who performed the necropsy, to weigh an astonishing 22 pounds, nearly 3 times the size of an average thoroughbred's heart. It was perhaps the tangible, biological key to his almost supernatural stamina, his boundless courage. More than half a century has passed since those sun-drenched days of glory, yet the name Secretariat still quickens the pulse, still evokes a sense of wonder. He remains the gold standard, the Everest against which all other equine athletes are judged. He was more than the greatest racehorse who ever lived. He was a fleeting glimpse of perfection, a testament to the breathtaking beauty of power unleashed, a red comet who blazed across the firmament of sport, leaving a trail of shattered records and indelible memories. Big Red, the tremendous machine, the impossible horse, forever.